The following is a presentation of the Neuropod podcast and is not an event that emerges from the ASET nominating or policies and procedures committees. Any candidate's failure to participate should not in any way influence your opinion or choice in this election. Welcome to the Neuropod, the podcast for neurodiagnostic professionals. Our mission is to provide you with information that can help you provide the best care for your patients. Knowledge is power, and more knowledge can lead to better patient outcomes. Joining me are the candidates for President-elect of ASET, the Neurodiagnostic Society. The election is on now through May 31st, so if you are a member and you have not voted, please log in and go to www.aset.org/Board of Trustees candidates with a hyphen between each one of those words. There you can review each nominee's resume and cast your vote for the candidate whom you believe can best lead our society. Today's show, we've got Magdalena Warzecha, and she is the final candidate for President-elect of ASET. Welcome to the show, Magdalena.
Hi, Jason. Thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah, delighted that we had an opportunity to talk to you and ask you about, what impact you think you can have on ASET and why our membership should choose you to lead. Why don't we jump right in? And I'm going to start with, tell us a little bit about your professional journey, your education, your employment, your volunteering. Cover that in a nutshell for us.
Okay, so again, thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk to you and to our listeners today. So about my education and professional journey, I discovered neurodiagnostics later in life. I studied early childhood education in Poland, and when I came to the US over 30 years ago, I didn't really know about the field of neurodiagnostics. Like many other techs in the field, this is not a very well-known area. Yeah. So I didn't know about it until a friend who went through the school told me about it, and it sounded really interesting. So I learned about it, and I enrolled and completed a neurodiagnostic program in Chicago.
Was your education in Poland, was it healthcare related or?
No, it was early childhood education.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
But when I was here again, I found neurodiagnostics, and I thought it was really, really interesting, and I enrolled in the program, completed the program, and I first started working at a sleep lab. Didn't work there very long because just kind of working nights wasn't for me at the time. I had little kids too. Then I worked at the hospital EEG lab, and then I worked for the IONM company for a while too. Mm-hmm. After about a few years in the field, I became a member of ASET, and that's actually how I met my current employer, Neurotech. So I started working for Neurotech, and the company was at that time very new. Mm-hmm. And I quickly really fell in love with the EEG and with the potential of how you learn.
Do me a favor, I don't want to derail you. Just for the listeners, put a date on that. Uh-huh. When did you join them?
2008.
Okay, wow.
Yeah. It's been a little bit, it's been over 15 years now. Yeah. So I've started learning more about EEG because that's what Neurotech specializes in, and kind of quickly became super interested in it and got my Abbott EEG credentials, and then I got my EP credentials, and then I got CLTM. Wow. And just 2 years ago, I got the NA-CLTM.
Were you in the first class?
Yeah. Yes, I was.
Oh, that's amazing.
I couldn't wait for this credential to be available to be taken. I love EEG. I love learning about EEG, and there's just so much more to learn too, always.
Yeah.
So meanwhile, I also got a degree I got my credits from Poland translated, and I got a degree in healthcare administration and management as well. So that's basically my education.
Yeah, outstanding.
And then professionally, over the years with Neurotech, with the company kept growing, and we hired and trained more techs and recruited many new techs into the field, provided clinical practice while we, sent them to school for IOHS and others. Mm-hmm. We opened new location, and I became a manager. I started as unregistered tech, but then over the years, as we kept growing, mm-hmm. I got my credentials, I got my degree, I became a manager, then I became a director of EEG services, and now I'm a COO at Neurotech. Wow. And again, we are fairly large now. We specialize in all things EEG, starting from routines, facilities EEG, ambulatory EEGs, CEG monitoring with on-site personnel and monitoring personnel. So
Yeah.
it's basically EEG.
It's a big
Um,
responsibility. Real quick, how does that help your leadership abilities? And then if you will tie in some, I know you all have done the ASET Aberrant Leadership Program.
yes.
Any other activities or any other leadership experiences that are relevant for positioning for you for this job?
Well, I've been kind of developing as a leader over the years, I would say. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it doesn't happen over time. As you grow but absolutely being in this company and growing this company has helped me along the way and gave me a lot of opportunities,
Mm-hmm.
professionally and education-wise and credential-wise, and mentoring other people and being mentored by other people. I got involved with ASET also because this company was growing, and as we needed to have best practices, guidelines, competencies, I've been reaching out to ASET on several occasions.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always been getting helped or being directed to where do you get that information. So I think that helped me out too, and that's what kind of got me into volunteering as well,
Mm-hmm.
because I felt like I'm getting so much from ASET, I need to give back and maybe contribute a little bit there too. So I
Yeah.
started volunteering on the CEU committee, then I joined membership committee, then special interest group for epilepsy monitoring. Then I've run for board of trustees, and I got elected. And as a trustee, that really opened my eyes to the complexity of the work that ASET is doing, ASET staff and ASET volunteers and all of the committees that work. That was a really, really great experience from the learning perspective of just understanding
Mm-hmm.
the society, its role, what it does, how much work goes into it, and just appreciation of it all.
And how to make things happen
Yes,
from the
exactly.
inside. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm looking at the professional contributions on, I have some notes in front of me, all available
Mhm.
on the ASET website. But it's it's a long list of participation. Shows me you're not afraid to step in and grind it out and do some work.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, there is this saying that you can outsmart me, but you're not going to outwork
Outwork me.
me. That's 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 what I'm kind of. I hope that I'm hard to outwork,
Yeah.
basically.
That's great.
So
Yeah. And
yeah.
then also I just want to point out the quadruple credentials. We haven't seen that in not in this election process. That's outstanding as well. So what's the number of modalities that you're familiar with or work around? Are you CLTM? No. Yes, you are.
Yes,
Yeah.
I am
So
CLTM, I am NACLTM, I am evoked potential and EEG.
hmm
I don't have CNM. I've had experience with interpretive monitoring, but I have not gotten my credential because I only worked in IONM world for about a year and a half, and
hmm
at that time, I just don't do it right now, so I couldn't get that
Yeah.
credential.
Well,
But
it makes sense. On your
yeah,
career path doesn't make sense to have at this point.
yeah.
It sounds like.
So.
Sorry. But yeah. So
But it is very interesting, and I loved it too when I used to do it.
volunteer activities with other nonprofits, I see that's impressive as well. So you haven't just committed to ASET. I mean, it seems like sprinkled in here. You're a board member currently of ISET. You're a board member
Yes,
currently of CSET, and
yes,
and obviously a foundation board member. A full disclaimer:
yes,
Magdalena and I serve together on the foundation board. Um,
yeah.
but how have those other operations helped you? Or how have
Well,
you helped them? Because it's volunteer work. How have you helped
yeah.
them, and then how's that developed you for the full leadership job of president elect?
Well, so what I think when I think of the local chapters and regional organizations, I kind of think about it as analogy to like a neuron. So like ASET being a sort of a cell body, and those local chapters are like the dendrites and axons, and that kind of spread around. And that's a two-way communication. I hope
Yeah.
that you have people on the ground really in those local chapters. So I'm involved with ASET for several years. We organize annual meetings that are very well attended. I love these meetings. It's an opportunity for local techs to not only learn, but network and talk, and everybody loves them really here.
Yeah.
With CSET, I've been attending CSET meetings for years, but now I just recently got involved with CSET board, and it's a great group of people, very dedicated, and these are just great opportunities to meet local techs and talk to them. And I think that's ASET could also do more with using chapters as sort of a way of reaching out to people in local techs in different states.
That's a good point. Those organizations are clearly more budget friendly. They're local to the techs.
Absolutely.
So that doesn't always require an overnight, and rarely requires an overnight unless you're on one end of the state, which we'd alternate in Ohio. So it's budget friendly. And the text, so you get the attendance can be great. I mean, I know that there's a couple that have struggled over the years and folded, but the strong ones, the ONDS, I think Florida's got a strong society. I know Illinois has a strong society.
Arizona has a great society. There's a lot of them that are really up and running, and they're great. Yeah, a lot of people can't afford the travel, take the time off from work, travel expenses, hotel, registration. This is so much easier, and it is always welcome that you have that local meeting. The techs really, really love it because it's usually on Friday or a Saturday. They don't even have to take a day off from work, and it's just, lower cost, obviously, but then you get the education too.
Yeah, we should think about possibly a foundation scholarship for maybe 2 techs to a local society meeting, because they are of value. There's a ton. There's not only a bunch of CEUs, but the networking opportunities, the support channel. It's like a mini ASET. You're not going to get everything that you would get at the national meeting, but you sure get a lot. So maybe we should look into sponsoring some of those. That'd be fun. So Magdalena, let's talk about your inner self. What motivates you to do all the volunteer work that I see on your resume? And I know it's been hour after hour after hour, having done quite a bit myself. What motivates you to get involved? And you do it for ASET, you do it for the regionals, you do it for the local. What makes you tick?
So I am genuinely passionate about neurodiagnostics. What motivates me really is getting things done and making a difference. So, for example, with ASET, several years ago when I was on the board, we formed a global initiative task force with Tigo Daniel from GOHI and Trey King, Emily Kale, and others who were all involved in some type of outreach into developing countries. And that task force was on kind of trying to see what we can and cannot do. It took a couple of years, but then last year, as chair at that time of membership committee, I worked with executive committee and the board, and we finally passed emerging international membership pathway for basically allowing access to become members of ASET to people from underdeveloped countries.
Yeah,
and
that's a scale. That's a scale of fees, right?
Yes.
So emerging countries would get a different rate than national.
Yes,
than,
that's exactly.
Locally. US
yes,
based.
because obviously they cannot afford $130 a membership fee, but they really, really look for those best practices and look for those access to education and knowledge. So that's I think is an accomplishment that didn't happen overnight, and it didn't happen just last year. It was sort of a culmination of a process that started several years ago with the Global Initiative Task Force, started with the Global Initiative Task Force, but it's been completed, and it really is very satisfying. Last year also, I led a task force for best standards in ambulatory EEG services and CEG services, which were both long overdue. And so we've put together a group of people from the industry and from the hospital backgrounds, and we've worked all year, but then we've completed those best practices, and we've got feedback from physicians groups as well too. And we've completed, and they are posted. So getting those things done and just having that sense of accomplishment is really incredibly rewarding, and that's what really drives me.
Yeah. Oh yeah, so. That's outstanding. So you got to the what motivates you. More importantly for our listeners, where do you find that? The best practices, because there's so much CEEG going on. Where are these documents? Where are these resources?
Yeah, so they were published in the ASET journal, I think in December, but they're also our own website, on ASET website.
Perfect.
Go on ASET website and resources or best standards, and that's where all the best standards and practices are.
Okay, good.
And there's several of them, and they're great. There's others that I didn't work with, but other people worked on, and there's just a great resource.
Yeah, I want people listening, if that hit them, if someone's doing CE and they want CEG and ambulatory or I want them to be able to find it without looking too hard. So we're going to do a show on that. I'm going to have either Linda or Maureen or somebody go in and cover how to find all these resources, and we'll probably cover some in detail. So getting back to you, if elected, what are your priorities? What are your goals for ASET? Not only what are your goals, I want to know why these goals are of value to our membership.
Okay, sure. I think I have pretty clear 3 goals. One would be promote careers in neurodiagnostics, so that's an advocacy goal. We would like to at least double the number of techs entering or people entering the field. We all know about staffing shortages throughout the country. We need to address that. There's staffing shortages, and that leads to other problems because there is no people coming into the field. So why are they not coming into the field? Because they don't know about the profession, right? This is such a great profession with so much potential that nobody knows about unless you have epilepsy or know someone who is in that field or know someone with epilepsy. You're not going to know. Yeah. So advocacy, and we're currently at ASET revamping ambassador program, and we should try to go back and advertise in high schools, community colleges, work with healthcare organizations like HOSA to promote our profession. On that same topic, though, once we promote the profession, the young people want a career. They don't want a job. They want a career. They want to be able to grow in that field. So we need to support expanding neurodiagnostic educations into bachelor programs and higher too, because that needs to be a desirable field to get into. On also sort of the same topic is job security. So people want a profession in which they feel that they have job security, right? Yeah. So we need to ensure the role of the technologies in the changing healthcare settings, and that includes working with physicians organization and payers to ensure that we have a role, to ensure that the neurodiagnostic procedures will be performed by qualified neurodiagnostic personnel. And I think that, you probably see that too on social medias and other places. Techs are afraid of new technology. And why are they afraid of the new technology and the rapid response devices? Because there is a fear that the techs will no longer be needed. Well, that needs to be addressed. So we need to create awareness of our role, that only qualified neurodiagnostic personnel is competent to perform the test and ensure patient safety and provide best quality results to physicians. Technology will change, as it always has, and it pushes, the boundaries, and it moves us forward, and it should be our tool. We should not be afraid of it.
Well, let me ask you. So licensure, does that create a barrier to entry while we have a tech shortage?
I don't think licensure. It depends how do you approach licensures. I mean, there is the people who cut hair have licenses. Does it mean that there's a shortage of people who cut hair? No. Yeah. You can grandfather in people. You can have grandfather clauses for people who are in the field on the job trained, and there could be the ladder. It could be extended. I think we should do that. Expand that neurodiagnostic career ladder from the tech assistants to people with bachelor's degrees to NICLTMs and PhDs or masters in neurophysiology for IONM. Yeah. That ladder has a really room for expansion, I think, because I think they started profession is growing.
I think they started expansion with the document I saw that has the titles and the competencies by job title. Definition all the way from NDA starting out, doing connections only, all the way up through lead techs through higher education type positions. I think that's a good start for the ladder. It gives an entry rung with clearly defined expectations and
Absolutely.
opportunities to climb up, depending on where you want
Absolutely.
to be.
Absolutely. As I said, I see that this profession is growing as
Hmm.
technology improves. There's going to be maybe things that we will need to learn because there's going to be a new technology. There's going to be new skills that we're going to need to learn. But I think that's another way of ASET to be involved in creating courses or maybe helping techs get to that knowledge that we will need to have. But I think there's enormous potential within this profession.
Hmm. So real quick, you said you had three clear goals. One was
Correct.
expanding the number of people in the field. So growing our base
Right.
of
Right.
technologists. And then you also reference that people want a career, and so expanding into the programs, hopefully some bachelor
Hmm.
programs.
Yes.
And then what is the third?
Ensuring that the techs have a role within the healthcare field, that we're not afraid of technology, we're not
Mm,
afraid of other people doing our jobs, just ensuring the role of the technology so we have a job security. So that's my second goal. And then my
mm-hmm,
third goal would be connecting with neurodiagnostic community internationally.
mm-hmm,
So that refers to both developing countries, which we talked already about the emerging international pathway for ASET membership.
mm-hmm.
And there's just so much need for knowledge in developing countries. There's need for everything, knowledge, resources, education. And they're very, very grateful for even having access to our mark and measure instructions or
Yeah.
best practices. And so that's a great opportunity for us to live out our mission of improving neurological health globally. That's ASET mission.
Yeah.
So I think that's an opportunity for us to do that. Also, developed countries, reaching out to developed countries and collaborating with other neurodiagnostic organization in developed countries. I think it's another opportunity that we could take advantage of. Share our practices, our educational credentials and educational requirements with others and comparing to others. Maybe we could learn from others too.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be awesome to have that sort of global recognition of our credentials
Mm-hmm.
in other countries in the world.
I have.
That would be a great thing to have.
So you just came back from France, from the
Hmm.
so European Congress.
Hmm.
What credentialing they have? I would think credentialing bodies. Is there coordination between ABRIT and their credentialing bodies, or
No, not yet.
what could ASET's role be in bringing that together?
So I think ASET and ABRIT right now have that joint international committee. I'm not exactly sure what the exact name of that committee is, but there is a joint committee that ASET and ABRIT have
Mm-hmm.
for basically that international outreach. And there are some countries right now in the world that are that accept ASET credentials. I think Ireland, some United Arab Emirates. There's a couple of others. I'm not Australia, maybe, but I'm not 100% sure.
Mm-hmm.
But in some countries, our credentials are valid. In others, they're not. As you mentioned, I've been just at the conference in Europe, and I've actually met with French techs, and they were very excited about potential collaboration with ASET, and they were excited about maybe visiting our annual meeting one day and would love
Yeah.
to collaborate. I think their educational requirements are similar to ours. They're not higher, and some countries I know that there may be higher educational requirements, but not in France. But again, there's differences, but I'm sure there's similarities as well. And I think it would be cool to explore and potentially, again, I see it as an opportunity for our techs to be kind of recognized
Yeah. Yeah. So the
elsewhere
mission.
in the world.
I think missions are really a guiding path. I don't think you ever complete a mission in this type of work. But
Right.
if there were an end to this, how would you see the international community and ASET? I mean, would we have ASET chapters in Germany, ASET
Oh,
chapters in Pakistan,
oh.
how do you vision? What would your vision be?
I would envision it sort of in a similar way, like if you have um, international physician organizations. So probably anyone can be a member of I don't know, AES,
Yeah,
but you,
double N, whatever. Hmm.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just a collaboration. It's just awareness and collaboration. I don't think we should take over the world in every country can have their own organization and their own societies, whatever works for them, but just
Recognition of the
collaborating and
credentials.
knowing recognition of the credentials.
So Magdalena, we're both fans of ASET.
Yes,
Obviously,
we are.
we've been involved. We enjoy doing what we're doing. We're passionate about it. But what do you feel like ASET can do better at this point?
So, yeah, you're right. We are a fan of ASET, and I've been a fan of ASET for years, and I've been extremely grateful for ASET too, for all the help that I've received over the years. And I think what we can do better now is we could be better in reaching our members and meeting the techs where they are.
Okay.
So I think that having a better social media presence, maybe. There's a lot of talk on social media, people asking questions, regarding some policies or protocols, or how do I do this, or what product do I use? Do you know about this code or that code? And it's great that people interact and give each other answers, but some of these answers may not be actually correct or may not be accurate. ASET has answers. ASET has best practices. ASET is the resource and should be the place where the techs go to get these answers. But the point is the techs maybe they're newer techs now, maybe they don't know where to go.
Yeah.
We should meet the techs where they are.
Yeah.
And make sure that they understand that that they can go to the website, they can find resources. If there's no resource here, there's going to be a link to ACNS guidelines that talk about what you should do for whatever you're looking for.
Yeah.
So I think that we are underutilizing our resources right now. We have ASET Central, which is a great site.
Yeah.
I think it's right now also underutilized. Maybe we need to do a little bit more of an advertising on that part, that people know to go to ASET Central. I think there's people that use it, but there's a lot of people that don't.
I think the structure and the intent is fabulous, but the awareness is low.
Exactly. I 100% agree with you. So I think we could do better in that respect. I think we should listen to the needs of our members and to the needs of techs. Which we kind of are doing. We do surveys. I don't know if we do membership surveys every year, but we probably should be doing membership survey every year to have a pulse of what is really needed. I think we're doing pretty well and great with education, and we have awesome courses available. But I think we can probably do a little bit more with advocacy, as I said, that, promoting our profession. Professional development, career help, maybe some mentoring. We've been talking about mentoring program at ASET. I don't think it's there yet, but there's definitely room for us to.
Can you qualify that? Give us a vision of what a mentoring program, a successful one, would look like.
Well, I would envision it in a way that we have mentors and mentees, right? So we have people who are younger techs, maybe students, or maybe someone who just entered the field and they're just kind of trying to find their pathway and grow their career, and maybe we'll match the people who are already developed in their careers and with mentees and kind of sort of to guide them throughout their journey.
That'd be great, because there's a ton of techs out there that don't have in the hospitals in which they work, they don't have that guidance.
Right, and I think it would be actually attractive also to mentors, to people who have experience. It's actually fun to teach other people and to mentor other people. I find it rewarding as well. So I think it would be a win-win for both mentors and the mentees too.
Yep.
I think we should reach out to younger techs and students and get them involved and have them take active role in the society. I think we tend to have people who are involved are usually more advanced in their careers. I think we should reach out to younger crowd and involve them in this society as well, because they are the future.
Oh yeah. Yep. You need a bench. You need a feeder program.
Absolutely. So yeah, so these are my kind of ideas how we can do better. There's always room for improvement, even if you're perfect. I love ASET, as I said. I think that people who work for ASET, both staff and volunteers, are doing a tremendous work.
Yeah.
And amazing work. But as everything changes, we continue to change, and we live in a society that changes, and healthcare that changes. We need to change too, and there's always room for improvement.
Yeah, a ton of things have changed in the last 3-4 years.
Yeah,
since 2020.
right.
So, do me a favor. Let's wrap this one up. I want you to talk to our listeners, and I think they got a really good idea who you are and the value that you can bring to the position. But I want you to share with them now. Give them your elevator pitch, your closing statement on why, if they haven't voted, they should log in and vote for you.
Well, so I am really passionate about neurodiagnostics, and I have experience in the field of neurodiagnostics, and I volunteered in the ASET and other societies as well. I think what I also bring is a really thorough knowledge of the neurodiagnostic community in the US. And that comes from my professional role. We have over 20 locations in the United States. So I attended local chapter meetings in many states. I speak to techs in several states, from Florida to state of Washington.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of makes me aware of differences and disparities within the country in terms of job markets, in terms of states with neurodiagnostic schools and states without neurodiagnostic schools. There are discrepancies in how techs are being paid in different areas of the countries. There are vast differences within the country that I think I am pretty well aware of because of traveling all over the place, talking to techs all over the place, attending the local chapter meetings in different locations.
Yeah.
I also think I have I have a pretty well knowledge of neurodiagnostics within the healthcare industry. And that's because I've been fortunate to attend ACNS meetings, AES meetings, critical care meetings, ASET conferences every year for the past, 10 years.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty up to date with trends and with issues in healthcare affecting not only techs, but also physicians. And as neurodiagnostic techs, we are affected and dependent on physicians' organizations, payers, CMS, healthcare laws, everything that changes around us. We are dependent on that and affected by it. So we need to be, as ASET leadership, I think we need to be very well aware of what is happening around us in the healthcare, and in order to position ourselves strategically, right? And to be proactive rather than reactive. So that's I think my personal asset to having that knowledge and having that awareness of the industry. I think I'm someone also who has learned to collaborate. So throughout my career, I learned the importance of listening to others and respecting other opinions and collaborating with others. We don't always have to agree with everybody on everything, as long as we can work our differences and work together. Yeah. So that's an ability that also I've acquired over the years.
That's going to be important in-house, working with other ASET membership. And executive board and such, but that's going to be important on the outside too, because you're going to have to collaborate with ABRIT, with ACNS, with all the organizations, AAN, a lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Good.
And then again, hard work and dedication to neurodiagnostic profession.
Yeah.
That I can definitely commit to.
Yeah.
So if you haven't voted already, please vote. I know Mary and I know Chris, and I have nothing but respect and admiration for both. So please review all candidates and please vote for me. We have three strong candidates. Yeah, exactly. So I learned that through the last 3 days doing interviews. So exactly. Yep. Well, thank you for joining us. It's been a good interview, and I've enjoyed the time that we got to spend together. And I wish you luck in the election. Thank you so much, Jason, and thank you everyone who listens to this podcast. Thank you. Thanks, Magdalena. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Jason Meyer for The Neuropod, the podcast for neurodiagnostic professionals.